All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're tackling a huge topic: why so many construction projects just go off the rails. We're going to break down everything from the contract you sign to the claims you might have to file so you can really master the art of the build. Let's get to it.
You know the story, right? It's the question that keeps every owner and contractor up at night. You've got a plan, you've got a budget, a timeline, and yet somehow things go wrong. It's such a common problem, but the reasons are often buried in the very foundation of the project itself.
And that really brings us to our first big idea. You have to understand that the construction world is, by its very nature, a volatile landscape. Getting your head around this is absolutely the first step toward getting your project under control.
So the goal isn't to pretend risk doesn't exist, because it does. It's all about how you manage it. The sources are really clear on this. Owners want to push risk onto contractors, and contractors, well, they want to push it down to their subs. The real skill is in how you handle this constant push and pull, and that all starts with the contract.
Think of your contract as the blueprint for your whole project. It's probably the single most important decision you're going to make. It's not just some legal document. It's the rulebook that decides who gets paid what, who's on the hook for financial risk, and how you solve problems when they pop up.
Okay, so let's break this down. What's so interesting here is that each contract is basically a different tool for a specific job. A lump sum contract. It's great for the owner when the scope is crystal clear. But here's a golden rule. If you can't define every single detail, do not use a lump sum. It's just asking for trouble. Now, on the flip side, if the scope is a little fuzzy, a cost-plus contract gives you more flexibility. And then you've got unit price for repetitive work and a guaranteed maximum price, or GMP, which is kind of like a hybrid that tries to balance the risk for everybody involved.
So if you remember one thing, let it be this. The biggest difference between the two most common contract types all comes down to one question: who carries the financial weight if things go wrong? With a lump sum, it's the contractor. With a cost plus, it's the owner. Choosing the right one is all about how predictable your project is.
But, a contract is only as good as the negotiation that created it. This isn't about winning or losing, it's about building a real partnership. This is where the human element really comes into play.
And I love this quote from PlanHub because it just hits the nail on the head. If you walk into a negotiation seeing the other person as the enemy, you've already lost. The real goal is to get on the same side of the table, and I mean that literally if you can, and tackle the project's challenges as a team.
So, how do you actually do that? Well, there's some fantastic practical advice out there. Listen more than you talk. It helps you understand what the other party really needs. Instead of just sticking to your demands, try to figure out the interest behind their position. And this is a big one. Brainstorm solutions together without shooting ideas down right away. You might just stumble upon a creative answer that works for everyone.
Of course, even with the best contract and the friendliest negotiation, stuff happens, right? Things can still go sideways, and that's where the claims process comes in. Don't think of it as a fight. It's your project's safety net, a structured, professional way to handle the unexpected.
Let's just be super clear on what a claim actually is. It's simply a formal request, based on the contract, for some kind of relief when something unexpected happens, like a sudden change in scope or an error in the plans. It's the built-in mechanism for getting the project back on track fairly.
Now, the process itself can look a little intimidating, but it really breaks down into these 5 main steps. First, you got to identify that there's even a potential claim. Then, and this part is absolutely critical, you document everything. After that, you give formal notice to the other party, and then you negotiate. The goal is always to find a fair solution. Litigation, that should always be your absolute last resort.
So we've seen how contracts, negotiation, and claims are supposed to work. But what causes that whole system to break down? What are the common problems that turn a well-planned project into total chaos?
Well, if you look at the research, the same bad habits pop up time and time again. It all starts with messy or just plain missing paperwork. That leads to poor communication because nobody's looking at the same information. Then you get delays because the right people aren't notified in time. It all boils down to the same pattern of disorganization and miscommunication.
When you look at that list, you realize it's all about information and workflow, right? It's not a bunch of separate issues. So, that begs the question, what if you could fix all of these core problems with just a single tool?
And that is exactly where our sponsor, Lemon Thai, comes into the picture. They saw these exact same problems and decided to build a real solution for them. Just think about it.
How many projects are still running on this messy, chaotic mix of spreadsheets, a million emails, and endless WhatsApp groups? It's disorganized, it's inefficient, and it's exactly where crucial information goes to die. That's the old way of doing things.
Lementi helps you digitalize that whole workflow. It creates a single source of truth for your project, making all your documentation, communication, and collaboration totally seamless. It's really about moving from chaos to control.
And you know, the best part is you can get started right away. Just go to lementi.com and you can start using the platform for free.
So, from picking the right contract all the way to mastering negotiation, success in construction really is about building a solid foundation of clarity and control. This explainer was brought to you by Lementi, the new standard in construction project management. Thanks for watching.